And in episode 9, even the day after, UBA employees are still trying to process the death of Mitch Kessler. And Bradley also has the issue of her brother sitting on her couch. Her brother apologizes for what happened the previous day, making a fool of her at her office, and even agreeing to finally go to rehab. So she's going to take off Monday, and she's going to take him down to the rehab facility. She then heads into work and gets ready to do the show. And the show is still missing Alex. And now that she's back, she has to atone for her sins. Her and her agent head into UBA to talk about her return. And that's all that Corey really cares about is when is she coming back, because they paid a lot of money for Alex. Corey is being as supportive as he can, telling her, any backlash you get, we will back you. But Alex has made up her mind. She tells him that she will be coming back Monday, but March 16th is her last day at TMS. She's giving back all of the money, which is something her agent has an issue with, but she's planning on letting him keep the commission, so, that's kind of cool. But this really puts a wrench in the plans that Corey had for the morning show, but also for his network. So he asks for the room alone with Alex, trying to convince her that this isn't the right thing to do. He gives her an awesome speech about pinball, and somehow Corey actually makes it work. But the issue is Maggie's book comes out the very next day, March 17th. And now that Alex knows what's in it, she knows she's going to be canceled. So she would rather just get ahead of this thing and fly off into the sunset before it can get really bad. She then heads down to the studio to go see Bradley, who she also hasn't seen in quite some time. She tells Bradley, I'll be back Monday. They advertised you and me, and I think we should give it to him. Bradley warns her, though, I'm not going to be in Monday. They're actually having Laura fill in, so maybe wait for Tuesday? Alex says, no, I'll be there, and I'll see you Tuesday. Bradley then asks her, maybe next week we can get a drink, because when you came back, I feel like I had all these barriers up. And Alex says, I'd really love that, but you might want to distance yourself from me for a little bit. Bradley has no idea what she's talking about, and Alex just says, have a good weekend, and walks out. But as she's heading out, she sees Paige, Mitch's ex-wife/widow, kind of. And Paige has come in, hat in hand, to ask the UBA employees for something. She gets ushered in by Rena, who, by the way, is the first person we see wearing a mask, and she feels pretty weird. Those were fun days. But it's not like Paige feels comfortable. She also feels extremely uncomfortable having to do this. But they have most of the morning show staffers waiting for her, and she tells them that she knows this is a weird request, but she wants them to all come to the memorial service for Mitch. It's not like she's happy about this. She just spent the last day trying to plan a memorial service for somebody that she can't stand. But her kids asked her, or Daddy's friend's going to be there, and she didn't know what to tell them. So she's just coming to them as a mother, asking them to show up. Not for Mitch, but for his kids. As she's about to leave, though, she sees Alex, and she just stares at her and walks out. And Alex is frozen still in Paige's presence. We fast forward to Monday. Bradley ends up driving Hal to a bougie rehab facility. As he's walking in, Hal brings up to her about going on a trip, but she tells him, I can't. It was tough for me to get off today. And Hal starts pleading with her to just really go anywhere, something for him to look forward to. But she says, Hal, can you just stop? I love you, but I'm not going to be able to see you when you get out. She starts explaining that she's worked way too hard to get where she is and she can't move backwards. So while it's tough for her, she doesn't think it's a good idea that they continue to talk after today. And as you can probably imagine, Hal is extremely upset by this. Hal screams at her, what's the point of getting clean if my family isn't even going to be here when I get out? He then starts refusing to go inside, and Bradley tells him, I can't make you go to rehab. Hope you do. I want you to get healthy, but you are a grown adult. I've paid for this place, so figure it out. I'm leaving, and you can't come with me. They continue to bicker and argue, and Bradley pulls out a wad of cash and gives it to him and says, do you want money? Here's money. Here's a few $100. And he tries to guilt trip her by saying, well, what happens if I buy drugs with this and then I OD, and then you'll never see me again? And that's the final straw for Bradley, who says, stop it. This is your life. Go in. Don't go in. But at the end of the day, this is your life. Figure out what you want to do with it. Bradley would much rather be at the morning show, which is where Alex returns. As she's walking in, Mia lets her know that just as a precaution because of the whole coronavirus thing, they're planning on putting studios in anchors' houses, just in case. And since Alex isn't planning on being there past March 16th, she tries to hint at her, I don't think that's really necessary, but she gets out of the conversation once she sees Chip. And she didn't expect him to see him because she hadn't heard from him. And he says, how does that feel, by the way? He realized that might have been a little hard, so he tells her, I'm going to stick around until you find somebody new to produce you, or until you get canceled, whatever happens first. And then he just walks off. Seconds later, Laura walks up to her and says, hey, Alex, I just want to make sure before we go out there, we're professionals, right? And Alex says, yeah, of course. And once the camera rolls, the two of them are great. I mean, they genuinely have really good chemistry to the point where after the show, Alex goes and visits Laura in her dressing room because she wants to know why Laura hates her so much. She felt like they were friends, and then all of a sudden they weren't. And Laura tells her side of things about how Alex wanted to be with her when she was famous and popular, but all of a sudden one day she wasn't, and Alex wanted nothing to do with her. And while she doesn't come right out and say it, she does hint about the fact that Alex was the one who leaked the information about her being a lesbian to the press. And Alex admits that she did gossip, but curtails it by saying everybody was gossiping back then. Alex says to her, I wish we had straightened that out back then. And Laura asks her, what would you have said if I asked you back then if you were gossiping? And Alex admits, probably would have denied it. Alex then gets ready to leave and tells her, I really enjoyed the show today, and it would have been fun to be friends all these years. I'm really sorry I screwed that up. And Laura, to make her feel better, says, I said shit about you too, so it happens. Alex goes home and checks out UBA Plus, in particular, the new Peter Bullard interview show. And the first guest is Corey Ellison. And they cover the Maggie Brenner book, and Corey actually invites Maggie on the air anytime she wants. Come on over to UBA and talk to us. And Maggie ends up accepting it. As soon as he gets off the Peter Bullard show, Corey ends up calling Bradley and asking her to be the one to interview Maggie. And it's because she's the one that's farthest removed from the thing. She doesn't have a dog in the fight. Bradley says sure. And in order to get her fully prepared for the interview, the publishing company is going to allow her to read the book early. The next day, she heads to the publishing company and reads it page for page. And it is pretty scathing. It's a bad look for Alex. A lot of it Bradley didn't know, and it fully prepares her to interview Maggie. But while Bradley is nose deep in a book, that is also the day that Mitch Kessler is having his memorial service. One person who was planning on going was Yanko Flores, who the previous night ended up running into Claire on the street. They decided to reconnect, and they were having a blast. She asks him about hanging out, but he says, I can't that day. And he's trying to avoid telling her that he was planning on going to the memorial service, but she ends up pulling it out of him. And when she finds out that Yanko is going to support Mitch, she ends up freaking out at him because she feels like Mitch was the reason why her friend died. And Mitch is one of the main reasons why she got out of the business. She tells Yanko, I'm glad he's dead, and I hope that Fred Micklin is next, him and all of his money that he got. She also ends up revealing to Yanko that she is helping Hannah's dad sue the company, which is something that Yanko didn't know. Yanko wanted to try to explain to her, though, why he was going, but he doesn't get the chance. She just walks off. So Yanko's definitely headed there, but one person who is torn with going is Alex. She doesn't think it's her place, but she also wants to go because she does feel like it's her place. And while she ponders it, the memorial service starts out, and it's really awkward. People are trying to avoid the elephant in the room, but one person who is not avoiding it is Dick Lundy. He gets up there, and he's a little buzzed, but he completely rips into cancel culture. A little while after the speeches, Alex does end up walking into the room. The first person she sees is Fred, but she just kind of has an awkward interaction where neither of them talk. And that's when she sees a friendly face, Paula. Paula is as thrilled to see Alex as Alex is to see her. She tells Paula that she promised Mitch that she would help Paula introduce her to the right people when she's ready. But Paula admits, I'm not really ready at this time. And Alex warns her, well, I'm about to be canceled, so you probably should be ready quickly before these people stop returning my phone calls. Alex then, in the middle of everybody, makes a speech. She asks Paige to just let her say what she has to say, knowing that it's going to be difficult for Paige. But she comes to the defense of Mitch. She tells the group that she was with Mitch in Italy. She was with him the day before he died. And what she saw was a man who was truly sorry. He had a wife and 2 beautiful kids that he didn't deserve. She then looks at Paige and just says, I'm so sorry for all of it, and leaves. She goes home and turns on UBA Plus to watch the interview with Maggie. But it doesn't go the way that she expected. It doesn't go the way that anybody expected. Bradley, having the ability to bury Alex, actually comes to her defense. Bradley paints Maggie as a bitter person who's trying to pour dirt on a grave. Everything that Maggie says, Bradley is able to spin it in a positive pro-Alex direction. Like when Maggie brings up this crazy woman knocking on her door, demanding that she take stuff out of her book, Bradley points out, so a woman came to you in need who had made a mistake years ago and asked you to take something out of your book, and you decided to leave it in anyway. She also paints Alex as a person who simply made a mistake and asks Maggie, let's go through the list of people that you're not proud you slept with. I mean, it is a really good look, not just for Bradley, but also for Alex. Alex is completely appreciative, and instead of being canceled, Twitter lights up with pro-Alex support. Maggie Brenner is made to look like a bitter writer trying to latch onto a cash grab. after the interview, Laura comes over to Bradley's house to hang out. And Laura's surprised at the reaction because when they first talked, Bradley said that she didn't like Alex. But Bradley tells her that she believed everything she said. She does owe her career to Alex. Laura then brings up that with all the coronavirus thing hitting New York, she's going to head to her place in Montana. She kind of just wants to lay low. She then asks Bradley to come, saying, I don't like when my woman works. And Bradley says, are you serious? And Laura says, well, no, I realize you have a job. But Bradley was talking about the whole my woman, asking her, am I your woman? And Laura says, you scare me a little, but yeah. They start making out, but then Bradley gets a knock at the door, and it's the bellhop, who drops off a package that was delivered earlier. When Bradley opens it up, it's all the money that she gave Hal. She asks the bellhop if the person's still there, but he says, no, it was delivered before my shift. And now Bradley is really stressed out on what's going on with her brother. The world goes to bed, though, because everybody has work the next day. But when Alex wakes up, she opens up Twitter, and the world has turned on her. Instead of being pro-Alex, they're talking about leaked footage. Alex starts to freak out a little bit, and a quick search reveals that her speech at Mitch's memorial service was leaked. And it was leaked by Fred Micklin, who was looking to get revenge. He was recording her the whole time. And it's not a good look for somebody who mere hours ago had their coworker saying that what she did with Mitch was a mistake in the past. Because now you've got Alex saying that she was with Mitch just less than a week ago. It's also not a good look because she just came from a coronavirus hotspot. So she's getting ripped twofold. One, for having some sort of a relationship with Mitch, but also for putting her coworkers in danger. She's so frazzled she ends up tripping over a shoe and knocking her head pretty good. She's found by Mitch and taken to the hospital. She wakes up and her agent's calling her up and she asks what happened and her agent fills her in. But her agent also tells her, they tested you for coronavirus when you entered the hospital. And Alex, you tested positive. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.